G'day, I'm Ash, and welcome yourselves to the P-40E1, one of my most favourite aircraft in War Thunder. Talk a bit about this aircraft in a second, and I want to apologise for not uploading as much content recently. Been rather busy focusing on, mental health and several other things as well. Just keeping active and obviously working a new job, and so having not played War Thunder for about 2.5 weeks, thought, you know what, let's go out in a couple of matches. So here we are on the P-40, and we're just going to have a casual bit of fun while we talk about this wonderful aircraft. By the way, if you want 3% discount on anything in War Thunder, there is a link at the top of the description, and you get a fantastic looking decal, like on the side of this P-40. Yes. Plugging. Shameless plugging. Anyway, let's get on with the rest of today's video. Obviously, this is a P-40, but I love it to death. It is one of my favourite aircraft, as I said. And just one of the things I love about the P-40 is it's just nasty. It looks fantastic. In the real world, when you see one of these flying, which there are a few examples of, it sounds impeccable. Just something about the whole entire machine as a package is just so evocative of the Allies in the Pacific and in some cases in European theatre. These things weren't very common outside of the Pacific theatre though. And that being said, I do know that there are a couple of cases of these being used as mail aircraft and stuff like that in South America, but again, it's classic, iconic World War II vehicle that you go, yeah, that's an aircraft. Many people don't know what they are. Everyone knows what P-51 is, everyone knows what a Spitfire is, but P-40's kind of the underdog in a way. And I just think it's utterly gorgeous. And being one of the most iconic aircraft in War Thunder, it allows you to be rather, generous with the way that this thing flies. It's a little bit of a brick in some aspects, but it's got good characteristics. And in War Thunder, being a rank 2, 10,000 silver line purchase at a cost of 7,900 research, this is one of the first fighters you get where you're actually sort of going, oh yeah, I can actually kill things properly now and actually survive a direct hit or two. You can actually engage with 109s and chase lags around it. It's fantastic. Chasing zeros is another interesting issue. Also, hurricanes can be a bit of a pain, but we'll get into that a bit later. Essentially, this thing came into the game with a battle rating of 2.3 and 2.7 in RB, and has been in the game since prior to update 1.27. Now I remember update 1.21. I do remember update 1.29 being the update that rocks everyone's world, but back then, that was back in 2013. This plane is one of the oldest aircraft in War Thunder, and honestly, it's probably one of my favourites. Modifications-wise, the E1 is one of the most perfect aircraft out there. Sure, the Allison engine overheats and it doesn't perform well above 3,000 metres, but what you have is a 6.5mm plate between the liquid cooling system and the oil, 8mm behind the pilot, and 38mm of bulletproof glass in front of the pilot. Plus you get additional self-sealing fuel tanks, one under the pilot and one in front of the pilot seat, and you just add that to the roster of machine guns. You've got 6 12.7 M2 Browning machine guns there with 1,686 rounds, a fire rate of about 750 shots a minute. This thing is lethal. Pilot snipes for days. It does everything, and it's beautiful. It's just one of those aircraft that really gives you a taste for what American aviation tends to be. They tend to be gunfighters. They tend to be relatively maneuverable, relatively fast-paced. Some are escorts, some are slightly heavily armed, and it really gives you a bit of a taste for what America is in as one of its early fighters. Now, you can get a 100-pound bomb and a 500-pound bomb strapped to the bottom of it. Particularly up to 500 pounds total. There is various loadouts with that one, but again, not really that useful unless you're playing ground forces, in which case it could be useful, but there are other choices there that I'd go for, like for example the TBDs with 1,000-kilogram bombs, or even PBY Catalinas. For the most part, I try and stick to as high altitude as possible without using my wartime emergency power. On that, you tend to really overheat the engine as the radiator isn't quite good enough to cool the Allison engine. Nevertheless, it's good enough to get it up to altitude, but in some certain situations, if you get hit in the front, there is a higher chance the engine will be knocked out. First targets are up, there's a Beaufighter and an MS-410 to the left, a French fighter. that is the Battle Pass fighter. I'm trying to identify by its colour. And then there are also a couple of other aircraft that are interesting. Just double checking my 6 and flying a bit around. Key wants to go after this Beaufighter. So you know what, we'll let him go after the Beaufighter. We'll turn left here in a second. An MS-410 looks a little more delicious, and so does that BF-109. So we'll go after that direction because, honestly, leaving the heavy fighters is probably a better option until later. You know, we are the highest altitude currently of any of the Allied fighters. So, you know, we're going to use that to our advantage considering the MS-410 is the highest up there right now. I value that as more of a threat than any of the other aircraft in the immediate area. Things to notice about this particular aircraft, right? The pros of it. It's powerful to a low mid-altitude performance. This thing does lock up at higher speeds, but it has a really good flat outspeed and a really good dive speed to become into pilot snipe that poor MS-410. Again, that's just something that the guns typically can do. Coming down on the 109, get a critical hit and try and avoid as much as you possibly can. Don't go head on with a machine like this, even though it has 6 powerful machine guns. It's not really recommended. Now, that 109F is still on fire. I'm unsure whether I should continue pursuing the target right now. I don't normally go for things that are on fire, but if the fire goes out, well, it's all free game, isn't it? You might call that kill stealing, but in this case, he's still alive. By 109. And again, watch what I'm doing. I'm rolling back around to try and preserve as much energy and pull away from those pesky hurricanes. Speaking of which, one gives me a bit of a lick right there. Go after the other hurricane over here. Again, spray and pray, American doctrine right there. You do get tickled by a couple of friendly's bullets. Somehow the RE-2000 goes heads on with the Hurricane Mark II and I get the kill for it. I'll take that. 3 kills, not bad. And now we get to play with another hurricane. And it watches our shots completely and utterly disappear. Now this hurricane's smart. He's got multiple enemies on him. He's going to dive directly down and somewhat use the poor turn capability and the poor energy retention of this thing to his advantage because the hurricane is definitely a better airframe. Now I use 400 meters gun conversions with this thing and I use tracer belts predominantly because, well, they do set on fire your targets that you want to hit quite well. And although I only have 372 rounds of machine gun left, I'm sure I can easily land a couple of this guy. Again, a critical hit. We're going to pull back around, loop over, wait for the friendlies to try and chime in. Pull back over again, tuck the flaps in, and now we're set on our gun sights. There we go. Hurricane is now down. That is our 4th kill. Kiwi is still engaging with that Beaufighter. He's had fun for the last 5 minutes, so let's go help him out. Because, you know, we could easily get an ace here. It'd be nice to get an ace. But with only 2 targets left, one of them being a Beaufighter, we have no idea where the other aircraft is at this time. It should be pretty fun to see if we can actually get an ace. But yeah, this machine is just fantastic, and I can't sing its praises high enough. It was one of the very first aircraft that I actually got that I actually quite enjoyed. Playing the American tree is a little bit hit or miss early on, as much as I love the pea shooters and some of the earlier American fighters, the Warhawks and B-36s. This plane really starts to come over time and really sort of is competitive in its own way. Anyway, we managed to get a critical hit. We've got 87 rounds left in that Beaufighter. Another hit, we've got 51 rounds left. Pulling up, he's trying everything to try and get the evasive moves there. Kiwi gets the blast, and obviously gets a pilot snipe. And that is GG from that regard. Now, there's one other aircraft left. Figure out what it is. I'm just looking around me to try and figure out where it is. I'll open the map in a second, see if the map highlights. Where is he being sneaky? Kiwi is running off in a direction. He just said, oh, there's only one guy left. I'm like, well, where is he? Is he somewhere out in the middle of nowhere? Is he climbing? Is it a lone bomber? No, it happens to be a BF-109 that is over at their airfield. Now, I tend to use up my blind hunts in my Avengers quite a lot, so let's go activate an order. And there he is. So we'll end up by climbing off and see if we can actually get the kill on him to try and get the ace. If not, it's been a fun little match. 4 kills isn't bad, but I really, really would like the ace. I wanted to talk briefly about my decal. I've had a couple of people question it, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's purchased one recently. I've been able to pay off a loan and and it's been the world to me that you're able to, I guess, get enjoyment and also get a 3% discount. So I wanted to thank all of you for who's purchased the decal. How are you liking it? It's a nice decal, isn't it? Comparatively to the other content creators, this means no diss to any of them. It really stands out with the orange background. I quite like it. It's got a really nice, vibrant sort of texture to it. And honestly, it fits on an aircraft like this, especially when considering the fact that it's almost mimicking the same camouflage put on a boomerang. Would fly boomerangs more often, but boomerang can't fly like a P40, so well, the boomerang is fantastic in its own regard. The P40 is still one of my favourites. But anyway, thank you to everyone who's purchased the decal. I really appreciate it. Link in the description if you're interested. Kiwi and I are still climbing after this 109. Looks like he's climbing up towards us. We've got a C205 behind us. It's an RE 2005 slotting in on our 6. So that friendly wants a bit of the action as well. And I don't blame him, considering I've gotten 4 kills in the space of just under a minute. Really sort of makes you wonder what is happening. I guess you get lucky in this machine. I find that your pilot snipe people quite a lot. You can easily just walk your traces onto a vehicle that's flying directly in front of you, and sometimes you get really lucky and sometimes it's hit or miss. But, age of spray and pray, I guess. And here comes the 109. He is coming directly through the clouds towards us. I'm going to pull up directly and immediately. Kiwi's going to continue flying directly through. I'm going to roll back over because I can definitely can see where he is. I have no idea where he is right now. Oh, there he is. Popped out of the clouds right there. In hindsight, I should have gone into gunner mode and given the old rat-a-tat from there, but we only get a critical hit as we're out of ammunition. Had I had a little more ammunition, we would have been dead right there and there. But that's okay, because all I can do is provide fire support now on the occasional attacker. RE2000 comes in. It's like a friendly Italian fighter. And he will ultimately end up by getting the kill on this particular fighter as he turn fights away. That 109 stands no chance against 2 P40s and a turn fighting machine, which is the RE2000. And there you go. That is the last kill of the match. So yeah, I'll take 4 kills and an assist. Because ultimately, it's the first game back playing War Thunder in well over 2.5 weeks. So, it is what it is. Guys, hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. Sorry if I haven't been uploading. I do apologise. It's been a bit difficult recently. But with that, we plan to get back into it a little more, and I'll start streaming a little bit more, see if we can get some more content down the way. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.